They mocked her, interrupted her, and tried to destroy her reputation. Now they're the ones begging for mercy. Karoline Leavitt had faced tough interviews before. As a young, rising conservative voice, she knew that stepping onto mainstream media platforms meant walking into a lion's den. But nothing could have prepared her for what happened that night. She had been invited onto the primetime political talk show under the pretense of discussing economic policy. The producers assured her it would be a fair discussion, just an exchange of differing perspectives. But the moment she walked onto the set, she could feel it. The air was charged with something more than just debate. It was tension, hostility, and a carefully laid trap. The opening questions were standard, almost too easy. She knew better than to get comfortable. Then one of the hosts leaned forward, smirking as he delivered the first real jab. Karoline, let's be honest. You're not here because of your expertise. You're here because of your loyalty. That's how you got this platform, isn't it? A few chuckles rippled through the audience. She recognized the tactic immediately. Undermine her credibility, plant doubt, make her defensive. But she had prepared for this. I'm here because I've earned my place, she replied, her voice even. And if you'd like to challenge that, let's do so with facts, not assumptions. But they weren't interested in facts. They wanted a spectacle. Another host jumped in, cutting her off before she could elaborate. Earned or handed, because from where we're sitting, it looks like you were chosen for your allegiance, not your abilities. This time the audience clapped. Karoline took a deep breath. This wasn't an interview. It was an ambush. For the next 10 minutes, she faced an onslaught. They twisted her words, interrupted her mid-sentence, and even laughed dismissively when she presented data to support her points. No matter what she said, they reframed it to fit their narrative. She could see what they were trying to do. Push her into an emotional outburst, something they could clip and broadcast as evidence that she was unhinged or in over her head. But she refused to take the bait. Instead, she countered calmly, methodically, and with precision. And then, the final blow came. One of the panelists leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, and smirked. Women like you set us back. You're a pawn, and deep down, you know it. The room fell silent. Even the audience, who had chuckled and clapped moments before, seemed unsure of how to react. The insult had gone too far, and they knew it. Karoline felt a fire rise in her chest, but instead of lashing out, she did something far more powerful. She smiled. Slowly, deliberately, she leaned forward, meeting the host's gaze head-on. If standing up for my beliefs makes me a pawn, she said, then so be it, but at least I'm not a puppet. The segment ended. The cameras cut. The hosts smirked, thinking they had won. But they underestimated one thing: the reaction that was coming next. The clip hit the internet like wildfire. Within hours, it was everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, every conservative news outlet. At first, the network tried to control the narrative. They released edited clips, framing the interview as just another spirited debate. But that wasn't enough to bury the full, unedited version. Because the full clip, it told a very different story. Viewers weren't just upset, they were furious. Comment sections exploded with accusations of media bias and outright bullying. Even those who weren't die-hard supporters of Karoline admitted what they saw was unfair. Hashtags trended nationwide. Stand with Karoline. Media bias exposed, checkers cancel the show. And then the real damage began. The network's sponsors started getting tagged. Over and over. Viewers weren't just mad, they were strategic. They flooded advertisers with messages asking why they were supporting a show that degraded women simply for holding different political views. Some companies tried to ignore it. Others issued generic statements. But then, one of the biggest sponsors pulled out. Their statement was carefully worded, avoiding direct controversy, but the message was clear. They didn't want to be associated with this. The first domino had fallen, and the rest, they followed fast. Inside the network, panic spread. Anonymous leaks revealed that executives were scrambling, demanding explanations from producers. The show's hosts, who had been silent, finally released a weak statement about spirited debate. But it was too late. Because Karoline, she wasn't done yet. Behind the scenes, she was meeting with legal experts. This wasn't just about a viral moment, it was about accountability. And when the lawsuit was filed, it sent shockwaves through the media world. The legal battle was bigger than anyone anticipated. Karoline's attorneys presented leaked internal emails from the network, messages between producers discussing how to ensure she stumbled and looked weak. It wasn't an interview, it was a setup. Then came the real bombshell. A former producer came forward, testifying that the show had a pattern of targeting conservative voices. She provided evidence, unedited footage showing how conservative guests were consistently interrupted, cut short, and manipulated in post-production to appear less credible. At this point, the network had only one option: settle or risk a trial that could expose even more corruption. They settled. For millions. And the show? It was quietly canceled. Karoline didn't just survive this attack, she thrived. The attempted takedown backfired spectacularly. She became a symbol of resilience against media manipulation. Speaking engagements, book deals, a surge of new supporters who saw in real time what she had been up against. She didn't use her victory to gloat. Instead, she left her audience with one final message. It's not about silencing those you disagree with. It's about accountability. The media isn't supposed to manufacture reality. It's supposed to report it. And that was a message no one could ignore.